Welcome to Dodgers Daily. Hey, welcome into Wednesday night in the Big Town Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Austin Brubaker's who you're seeing on the screen here next to me. Casey Porter, so glad you decided to tune in tonight. We have a lot to talk about. I'm not going to lie. I am in a great mood. The Dodgers just had a tremendous road trip, Austin. So if you're looking to cry in your beer tonight after the Dodgers did lose today, this is probably not the show for you. So, Austin, how the hell are you? It's always great to see your face.
Casey, it's great to be able to see you. Yes, we got to see a Dodgers defeat tonight, but it's not without the overall big picture of what this road trip actually meant. Yeah. The Dodgers did a great job in this road trip. They went into Toronto. They took 2 out of 3. They took care of business against the Washington Nationals. They did what they needed to do. And tonight, as it got to the 9th inning, 4-3, Jeff Hoffman going in from the 9th inning for the save. I think if you were to take the last time that happened, which was Game 7 of the World Series, which I believe with the exact same identical score with what you had tonight, I think the Dodgers won the correct game. Jeff Hoffman ended up getting the save tonight. Yes. Big picture, though, I think there is a lot of really good positive things for the Dodgers to be able to take away from this organization. And I'm excited to be able to dive into, because this is a little bit of one of the first times Casey and I have been able to dive into some of the big picture type of topics as to the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'll dive into some of the game, some of the reasons why the Dodgers lost today, but also dive into what we are seeing for the first 12 games in which the Dodgers are 9-3.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive into it. We have our first comment here from Rockstar Showtime LA. Not to be negative, but you got to call it what it is. Jack Dreyer was not good today, and it's not being negative. The major league level is all about results. You know, we are a lot more process oriented at the minor league level because, like a Peyton Martin who gave up 6 runs yesterday in his Double-A debut, I'm not worried about that at all because I know he's working on this. I know he's working on that. I've seen Ben Kasparius do that. I've seen Kyle Hurt do that. I've seen all these guys. Matter of fact, I saw Walker Buehler not even be able to get through the first inning of his AAA debut in Oklahoma City. I saw that with my own eyes. Yeah. So at the minor league level, we're very process-oriented. We're very forgiving. At the major league level, it's all about results. If you are brought in as a bullpen piece and you have a lead, okay, you are tasked to do your job. Now, what your job is to throw strikes and to not give free baseball and to not let the other team have an opening that was created not for anything they did, but for what you did. So where I will say that I am disappointed in the Maytag, and hey, I'll say it again, if his dad Steve watches or if he watches, which they won't, but I always try to comment like I think they're going to watch, just that way I feel like if I say it, I'll say it in front of their face, that kind of thing, right? Where I would say I'm disappointed in Jack Dreyer is he just didn't throw strikes. I mean, if you have a lead and you're on the road, at the bare minimum that's being asked of you, you have to put the ball in the strike zone. If they hit the ball, they hit the ball, but you cannot walk people.
Yeah, it was a 42% zone percentage for Jack Dreyer during his outing today, 46% with that fastball, which with his fastball, he tries to throw that up in the zone, which with his induced vertical break, very high induced vertical break, think Alex Vesia-esque with Jack Dreyer in his fastball will stay up in the zone.
It doesn't go down as much.
It doesn't.
So it looks like it's rising.
Yes, it does not drop as far with gravity, so it appears as if it's going up to a hitter, even though it actually is not.
We call that carrier ride, yes.
Yes. Yeah. Jack Dreyer tries to live with that fastball up in the zone and then be able to take that slider as a little bit more of a depth type pitch off of that. And there was a lot of times where we saw Jack Dreyer miss up in the zone, and that put him in situations where he wasn't in leverage type of counts where he could go ahead and attack each one of these hitters. Jack Dreyer has been a phenomenal pitcher during his tenure with the Los Angeles Dodgers. And part of the reason why he's been able to do that is not just his ability to have that fastball that stays up in the zone. It's his ability to be able to limit barrels, limit some of the hard contact, especially with the barrels that he had. And early this season, we're just seeing a little bit too much of a high barrel percentage, really good exit velos for opposing offenses. You look at his average exit velo that he had during the game today, based off of what was hit. The average exit velo was 97 miles per hour. Mm-hmm. He was getting hit hard with his stuff, and I think that's in part due to some of the positioning that he had on the mound, not getting in leverage counts, not being able to locate each one of his pitches. I think all those two things tied together to where you had a rough performance, and Jack Dreyer entered with a 3-1 lead. and he did not get out of that inning with a 3-1 lead. It ended up being tied at 3-3, and that ultimately led to some of the disappointment to where, man, you think about what could have been with the Los Angeles Dodgers during this road trip with this final game taking place.
Absolutely. So, I mean, hey, you got to call it what it is. I rip the Band-Aid off. That's just absolute facts. If you're not going to be able to address the facts, that's the way. Then you don't need to have a podcast, right? So, hey, we love Jack Dreyer. We have total confidence in him. I think you're exactly right, though. I think it's the exact opposite argument that you're making with Alex Freeland. With Alex Freeland, you're saying, hey, if he's able to lay off the borderline pitches, get himself in leverage counts, that's going to give him the best ability to hit. At that point, it's up to him. In the exact opposite with Dreyer. If you're getting into hitters counts as a pitcher and you're having to serve a ball in there and you only throw it 93, 94, and you're not able to throw it to locations that you want to throw it to, and instead you're having to just throw strikes, then you are going to get hit if you are Jack Dreyer, because you don't have the Edgardo Henriquez, the Blake Trinan, the even Will Klein margin for error, because you're not 100. You're 93, 94, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. As far as the stuff, and this is part of the reason why I think he went a little bit underrated, is the stuff doesn't look electric, but with some of the characteristics really play off of each other really well, which is how Jack Dreyer is able to succeed. He's a little bit more crafty in nature. He's able to utilize what his strengths actually are as a pitcher, which is that high riding fastball and the ability to have the slider go off of that to be able to get a lot of hitters out, avoid a lot of the barrels is really what he's able to do. He just wasn't able to do that. Rough performance through him. I'm not expecting that going forward, but that is something that he's going to have to be able to work out, because there is a lot of expectation towards Jack Dreyer and any single individual as part of this bullpen, because there's other talented pitchers that are part of the system that are fighting for any opportunity. And so you have to be able to succeed as often as you can at the big league level to sustain at the big league level.
Okay, so open the stat book on Blake Trinan, Austin. I've said all offseason, when you have a guy, of course, there's two things that players never are able to escape from. And that, kind of like in life, it's death and taxes, right? Nobody gets out of this alive. So for players, those two things are, it's either talent level, either you get to a level to where you're just not talented enough. That's why I always talk about the AA level. That's usually where it happens, to where it just, the talent's too good day in and day out for you to be able to compete. So it's either a talent level or it's Mother Time. So when you get a guy like a Blake Trinan and they start struggling, you're like, well, they've had a couple of injuries. That always creeps into your mind. Well, is he ever going to make it back? Is he getting too old? That kind of thing. So that's kind of the debate between that and, you know what? That dude held the ball in the World Series in some of the worst possible scenarios and just handled it like a dude. And I'm going to give that guy every single chance to prove that he still has it. And I think he's rewarding the Dodgers for having that type of patience, maybe that sometimes we as fans don't. I think I've had that patience with Blake because I've seen him in Oklahoma City, and I personally like the guy, and I know what the character he's made out of. And so I'm able to look a little bit more big picture with him. Talk about under the hood. Is everything as good as it seems with Blake Trinan? And is he the guy that we're all hoping that he comes back to be again?
First off, patience. And this is some of the thing that I want to be able to preach with us early in the season, because it can be very easy for us to be able to draw conclusions early in the season when conclusions that we can draw might not be definitive type yet, or we're taking, like we talk about with spring training, very, very too small of a sample size to be able to make some sort of determination. So what are some of the trend lines, or what are some of the things that we can be watching? Because with Blake Trinan, he's got his sinker and he's got his sweeper. The sweeper, which, by the way, that pitch to Jesus Sanchez to be able to get that swing and miss was nasty. Down and in
his
towards the
sinker
left-hander.
was better than his sweeper, I thought, today. Badass.
Yeah. His pitch mix that he has, there's a reason why he's had a lot of success, because it's got a lot of pitches that go east and west from opposing hitters, and that's able to get a lot of swing and miss. And that's what we saw today. A couple of swings and misses. Didn't get a whole lot of swings, just 4 swings. 4 swings out of his 9 pitches. 2 of those resulted in swings and misses. Look, early in the season for Blake Trinan, it has hasn't been an exorbitant amount of swing and miss or a lot of strikeouts that we've seen in this so far this season, but there's been a lot of ground balls that he's been able to get. And if Blake Treinen can limit a lot of the contact to being able to be more on the ground, I think that's where he has a lot of success. I think if you look at some of his seasons where he's had some success, he's been able to get a good chunk of his contact to be on the ground. You combine that with some of the swing and miss stuff, and even if it's a little bit more limited, keeping it a little bit more on the ground, I think is going to really help Blake Treinen be able to have some success. Last year, obviously, was a struggle for him. A 5.4 ERA with underlying metrics that suggest that's kind of right in line with what he was previously. Look for what is he able to do with some of the swing and miss. How is he able to get some swings and misses? Got a couple more whiffs today. Overall on the season, the whiffs are entering today about a 33.3%. But again, talking about 4.2 innings or so. Look for some of the swing and miss. And if the ground ball percentage combined with above average swing and miss continues, that's when you can have an effective Blake Treinen. He did his job in limiting some of the damage and keeping it a tie game. That was great to be able to see from Blake Treinen. Look for a couple of those trends with what he's able to do.
Yeah, where are we at with Ben Casparius? What are you thinking here?
Yeah, with Casparius, it's again a lot of these guys. It's a little bit more of a wait and see type of approach to be able to see what exactly is going on, to see how they are doing. That's
just kind of give me your opinion of where we think we're at with Ben and his just not necessarily like how he's doing this year, but just in his overall progress as a leverage type reliever so far in his career. Where do you think we're at? What is your opinion of where we're at in that process?
Yep. So last year, obviously, successful start, got moved and changed around his different role that he had. And I think there was an adjustment period that he had to make because he had to make the sacrifice for the organization, trying to get back to what he was previously. Now, I think it's more in a settling in type of process of remembering for him what it means to be more of a one inning type of high leverage type of reliever. And I think that resettling in type back into that type of approach, I think there is going to be a little bit of, as we saw a little bit towards the end of last year, a little bit of rocky roads, a little bit of turmoil with what he has, because he's trying to be able to get adjusted back into that particular mindset, get back adjusted and a little bit more comfortable into that type of role. I compare it a little bit, even though completely different situations, but what we've seen early in the season from somebody like a Dalton Rushing. Now a little bit more confident, a little bit more comfortable in his type of role. He knows exactly what's expected of him. Yep. He's ready to be able to do that. I think that's what we got to wait to be able to see with Ben Casparius, because he was in a role, then he was uprooted from that role and turned into a little bit more of a starter. Then it was nope, we're going to go back into this type of role. And now it's a little bit of a settling. Let's get a little bit more readjusted to get back to the type of pitcher that he was early in the 2025 season, because that's where he was at his most success at the major league level. I think that adjustment period is what kind of Ben Casparius is. It might take a little bit of time, but it still absolutely is in there. The stuff is nasty for Ben Casparius.
100%. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to bounce back and forth. We'll get into a bunch. I want your thoughts on Christian Zazueta. You got to, man, you talk about making a statement. Ooh. Charles Davlin, you've gotten to see Charles Davlin. And I'll tell you what, Nico Perez might be the most underrated offensive player. It's kind of like the catcher for the AA Tulsa Drillers, Nelson Quiros, guys that you've never heard of that are very good offensive players. And then Kyle Nevin's also in the boat. So we'll get into our down the farm stuff later on. There's also some really cool stuff from Brendan Tunick and guys like that. And then obviously we'll get into our Ryan Fitzgeralds and our Quad A guys. Cole Irvin through today. I thought he grinded really well today. Kyle Hurt did not have a good outing today. Not worried about him whatsoever. Yep. But we'll get into all of our down the farm stuff later. But we do have a question. Doesn't mean we won't bounce in and out about certain people, because, hey, whenever, and Bruce came out with, I always say this, if I whatsoever don't think there is a single top 30, top 50 prospect list ever that's ever even been close to accurate. I'll never back down from that. I'll say this, if there ever was one that could be accurate, it would be Bruce Kuntz, because he sees these people every day. He talks to the people in the Dodgers organization. he knows closer to what the Dodgers are thinking than just, hey, an opinion based on stats or trying to. I don't think he's trying to just get views or clicks or that kind of thing. I think he's actually trying to be accurate based on information he gets from the people in the system. So if there is a top prospect list to look at his, because that's the one that's going to be, if there is one that's accurate, then that would be it. So I say that to bring in his number one top prospect, obviously, is Josue Depala. So when we have a question about Josue Depala, we are going to cut right into him. Give us your impression so far. Of course, way too small of a sample size so far at AA Tulsa for Josue Depala. But how has he measured up so far, do you think?
Yeah, so just giving you guys a little bit of a breakdown of what his numbers are entering into the game today, which I'm seeing a lot less Josue Depala. I had the chance to be able to see him last year. Casey gets the opportunity to be able to see him. He's had the opportunity to be able to see him. Just go over some of his numbers that he's had this year. 235, 381 on base percentage, 294 slugging percentage, a 107 WRC+. He's walking a lot, 19%, walk percentage, 14.3%, strikeout percentage. Similar to what I've seen a little bit in the past with Josue Depala, and this is going to be some of the similar issues that we're going to see with a lot of these different prospects that come up through the Dodgers system. There's a very patient approach that a lot of these guys have, which I think this is a very ideal approach that the Dodgers like to take with a lot of their hitters. And you look at up and down a lot of these different prospects. I think Eduardo Quintero is kind of similar to this. Swing percentage is fairly low for each one of these guys. For Depot, it's 35-ish% for him this season. Now, we don't have any additional information as to how is he doing with pitches inside the zone. How is he doing in the heart percentage? Because that's much more telling than just the overall swing percentage of what Josue Depala is able to do. But a lot of things like contact percentage or what is he doing with his ability to be able to hit for power? How is he able to perhaps elevate the ball at least a little bit more? And with Depala this year, it's at least early on in the season, which again, just 21 plate appearances on the season. There's been a lot of batted balls that have been hit on the ground for him, about 54%, which is not what you're looking for with Josue Depala. Looking for a little bit more of those line drive type of approach that he has. Yes, exactly. You're looking for more line drives that Depot is able to have to be able to maximize the skill sets of what he is able to do best. There's going to be an adjustment period for Depot to be able to do that. And certainly with the amount of times that he actually swings, he has to be able to swing more, but more in zone and make good swing decisions right there. And if he does, I think that's going to lead to some of the best types of contact that he has. He's got really good tools, and he projects to be a great hitter going forward. But you would like to see with some of his numbers just going forward, again, super small sample size, but a little bit more elevation to some of that, a little bit more line drives at the very least for Depot to have a lot more success.
Yeah. Okay, so the Dodgers went 5-1 on a pretty difficult road trip. I know Toronto's not playing very well right now, but they're still a Toronto team that has almost the same cast of characters that really probably outplayed the Dodgers in the World Series last year. They didn't outplay the Dodgers because the Dodgers won. I mean, that's point blank. You never outplay somebody when you actually lose because you have to put everything in the equation whenever you say, how did each team play? But in many ways they did. There were some ways there was a lot of good fortune that the Dodgers won last year. So you go in and you win 2 out of 3 in the Rogers Center. You probably should have won today's game. If Jack Dreyer executes and puts the ball in the strike zone, you probably do win the game. I'm not saying he lost the game for the Dodgers or anything. I don't mean it that way. Just trying to be real with some just kind of how the game went. That would have put a 6-0 road trip. You're on pace to win about 130 games this year. So, I mean, any Dodgers fan right now, that's why I started this show at the beginning. I'm in a pretty darn good mood. Any Dodgers fan, I promise, I'll put you this way. When the Dodgers climb on the plane and they get on the plane to head back, I think Houston's their next game. This is going to be a celebratory plane ride home. They're going to be excited. Yeah, you're a little bit frustrated you didn't win today. You're going to address some of the but then, like by now, they're probably getting ready to get on the plane, or if they're not on the plane already, they're in a great mood right now. They're in the same mood I am right now. You can't do a whole lot better than 5-1. You won 17 of your last 19 road games going back to the end of last year. Any Dodgers fan that's not happy right now, I just think as a Dodgers fan that just you can't make happy.
You have to understand the nature of the game of baseball, and the game of baseball is one where there is a lot of failure in it, and that's just the nature of the game. 3 out of 10 times for Hall of Fame players, that's the saying goes. If you fail 7 out of 10 times, you're basically a Hall of Famer. Now, there's a lot of underlying stuff that is part of that, but for the game of baseball, there's a lot of failure. So when you're able to pull off stretches like these, where you're able to have pretty good success, and especially with how the offense has been able to respond, entering the game today, the Los Angeles Dodgers are second in Major League Baseball in WRC plus with a 142 WRC plus. That is really solid. The offense as a whole is clicking, and this is even without guys like Mookie Betts, who went down with the injury, which we hope Mookie Betts is able to return. But being able to have some contributions that we were able to see with the game yesterday that Alex Freeland was able to have, with some of the contributions that Ha-Seong Kim was able to provide during the couple of games that he had, and just the overall complete nature of this offense with Andy Pages and what he's able to do, there are so many different good signs coming up for the Dodgers, especially on the offensive side. And they have a lot of talent on the pitching side, and even some guys that are going to be coming back at some point. So you're confident that the pitching is going to be even better going forward, which, of course, there's some worrisome signs with guys like Roki Sasaki, guys like an Emmett Sheehan with some of the stuff that he's produced this season. But overall with the season, you have to be happy with the place that the Dodgers are at as they go back home 9-3 and enter a series, not against Houston, against the other Texas team, against the Texas Rangers for a three-game series before they play against the New York Mets. This is going to be two 6-game series that the Dodgers are going to have before they get an off day, and then it's going to be a little bit more of an extended run of games. So another off day that they get tomorrow, it's going to be good for the Dodgers to get a little bit of additional rest, travel back. I'm assuming they've traveled back or traveling back right now to Los Angeles. Overall, the nature of the Dodgers on the major league side is really solid so far, and there's some good signs in the minor leagues too.
No, there absolutely is. And I'll tell you some other good signs is that Alex Freeland is starting to hit the ball. Yes. That's the thing. I mean, no matter where you're at in this argument or whatever, I think we can all agree that for Alex Freeland to make an impact on this team the way that he needs to, he's going to have to gather hits. And he's been able to do that in the last couple of games. He has, hey, it's one thing to have a good game, right? Like you get hot, you start feeling good about yourself. It's a whole different deal to regenerate it the next day. The hit that he got today, to me, I was more excited about in many, many different ways than the 2 hits he got yesterday. Because it's like, okay, well, he got a hit again the next day, which kind of shows some staying power to it. So very excited to see Alex Freeland finally. And then all of a sudden you look up and he's hitting almost 270.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things to be able to notice with Alex Freeland, which, by the way, if you don't know, I've been very invested and very much studying. Alex Freeland is probably the player that I've studied the most out of all these different players, in particular because he was more on the fringe on the Dodgers roster. And the Dodgers have made a statement with the injury to Mookie Betts and not assigning Alex Freeland at shortstop that they are going to invest heavily in him over the next couple of weeks, at least until Tommy Edman is back, or until Alex Freeland shows that he's not worthy of the positioning that he is. The Dodgers are going to invest significantly to be able to see what they have in Alex Freeland and also give him an opportunity to be able to make adjustments that he needs to be able to make in order to have success at the big league level. A couple of different observations that we've had early in the season for Alex Freeland. One, and I'll start with the positive things. Alex Freeland is hitting the baseball pretty hard right now, and it is consistent. You enter the game today with an average exit velo for Alex Freeland at 94 miles per hour. That is in the 92nd percentile in Major League Baseball. Here's his 2 exit velos that he had during the game today. Had a couple of strikeouts. Should have challenged the last pitch, but the Dodgers were down to their last challenge, and I'm sure Alex Freeland is not at the top of priority for challenges. You can have that argument. It was outside, would have been ball 4, ended up being a strikeout for him. His 2 batted balls that Alex Freeland had today was a 95 mile per hour single and a 100 mile per hour ground out. Again, 2 batted balls that are hit pretty hard for him. Why has there been a little bit of struggle for Alex Freeland during the course of this season? But overall, there has been some good signs, at least with some of the exit velo, at least with being able to barrel up some of the baseballs. A lot of that a little bit influenced by the game that he had early in the season. But with Alex Freeland, what we have seen a little bit so far this year is, and this was before the game that he had yesterday, there was too much passivity inside the strike zone. Entering the game yesterday, I think it was like 55% heart swing percentage. That can't exist for Alex Freeland. It's got to be at least somewhat close to league average, which, to be fair, after the game yesterday, it bumped up closer to 65%. Swing decisions have gotten a little bit better. I think he's gotten a little bit more because he is under the impression of a lot of the coaches that he's got to swing a little bit more. He's got to lead a little bit more aggressive. That has led to a little bit more chase as part of his game for pitches that he thinks are going to be part of the zone, or he just expands it just a little bit more. You'd hope that he'd be able to rein in a little bit of that to where he can cut down on some of his swing and miss. But overall, his ability to be able to hit the ball hard puts him in positions to be able to succeed. With Freeland, you're looking at positions to be able to succeed and then allowing the process to be able to play itself out. Swing decisions put you in a position to be able to succeed. Hitting the ball hard puts you in a position to be able to succeed, and hopefully he is able to elevate the ball a little bit more, because one of the things that he's done too often this year, which you'd hope would get a little bit better, is he's hit the ball on the ground too much. In order for Freeland to be able to have a little bit of success, he can't be a 55% ground ball percentage type of guy. You're looking for a little bit more line drive type of approach for Alex Freeland, to where he can get a little bit more of that gap-to-gap power. Throughout the minor leagues, he was anywhere from a 37 to a 42, 43% ground ball percentage guy, with more of closer to 22 to 25% line drives. So far this year, it's only 11% line drives, which I think has led to some of the limited amount of success that he has. It's good to be able to see him be able to elevate the ball the past couple of days, because if he can combine elevating the ball just a little bit more with the exit velos that he's been able to produce, which last year was above average exit velos, this year even better with some of his exit velos, that's when we're going to see a lot of success for Alex Freeland. Overall, a little bit of a mixed bag, but the past couple of days have been encouraging.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so let's get into something I want to talk about. This is the first and third play that the Blue Jays won the winning run on. And right here, you see Miguel Rojas. Obviously, you have to catch that. I mean, just point blank. I love Miguel. I hate it that he lost his father. He's fantastic. Yeah. I don't want to be negative in any way, shape, or form to Miguel Rojas. I hope you realize that or understand that. Not trying to be negative to Miguel Rojas. So let's get into this. So this first and third play right here, this one right here. This is run all the time in high school. So, I mean, we literally practice this both on the defensive side of it and the offensive side of it literally once a week. I mean, it's part of our team drills that we do. And it's based on scenarios. So let me give you a scenario. First scenario that you have to put in the equation. If that run at third base is a drop-dead run, meaning if that run scores, the game is over, okay? The drop dead, game's over. If that run from third scores, drop dead, game's over. You never, even if you're a major leaguer, never, ever, ever, ever throw through. No matter how many outs, whatever. There's just too many things like we saw a major leaguer right here, one of the best major leaguers defensively in the game. Miguel Rojas missed it. You can't. Yep. If it's drop dead, you can't ever throw through, okay? This was a little bit kind of gray area because it wasn't drop dead, but it was the bottom of the eighth, which meant you only had 3 more outs to play with. So I'm not putting that in the drop dead category, because you have a great offense. You still have 3 outs to play with to come back and win. And so I'm not considering this drop dead. So from that perspective, it's not an automatic don't throw. So here's your next set of rules that you go by on that first and third play. Okay. If there are no outs, okay, you're a statistician, with a runner at third base and no outs, the percentages of that guy scoring or girl in softball is like 92%, okay? There's about a 92% chance of somebody scoring from third base with no outs. So if they're going to try to steal second base with no outs on a first and third situation, always throw through. Again, unless it's a drop-dead situation, because it's worth the chance of cutting down that run, because scoring from third base with 1 out is about a 50-50 shot versus scoring from third base with no outs is like a 92% shot, right? So throwing that guy out of second base and creating that first out is well worth the risk of letting that run come home and score. That's going to score 92% of the time anyways, right? So where the gray area comes in is with one out. So with one out, okay, well, you're about a 50-50 shot because you might get a strikeout, you might get a pop-up, you might get something, and then the next guy only has a 30% chance of getting a hit. So you're right at around a 50% shot. Okay, but still then you're a 50-50 shot that they might score too. So one out is squarely the gray area to where it's just, I don't care which way you go. So in this scenario, not only was it not drop dead, there was also one out. So you could not have had more of a neutral situation as to should the Dodgers have thrown through or not. So I don't have a problem either way. Here's the problem I have. So like you'll hear this all the time from a manager or a coach. Once the other team gets a runner on third base, you'll always hear them yell at the catcher, hey, got to be a wall. You got to be a wall. And what they mean is don't let a ball in the dirt get by you because then the other team's going to steal an easy run. Instead, let's keep it in front of you, make them get a hit, right? So what I would say in this scenario is Miguel Rojas needs to treat that like a catcher would with a runner on third base, and that is before you're trying to get the out at all cost, no matter what, the ball cannot get by you. Same scenario as a catcher with a runner on third base. That's where the play erred. Again, I don't want to be too critical on Miguel Rojas because he's awesome. He's back in the Rogers Center where he made one of the greatest moments in the history of Dodgers baseball. So again, not trying to dump, just trying to be realistic about this particular situation. Where it went wrong was Miguel Rojas did not treat this play like a catcher would with a runner on third and two outs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So just want to give you guys a little bit of statistical context with some of this. So David Schneider, a little bit more league average-ish with some of his sprint speed. Andres Jimenez, 12 stolen bases that he had last year, a little bit above league average, 27.6 with his sprint speed and stuff. I want to give you guys a little bit of context because there are some actual calculations and stuff with run expectancy matrices. Essentially what this is it takes into account the number of outs and where each one of the runners positions are as to what you would expect would actually happen to play out over the course of a very, very large sample size. How many runs would the opposing team expect to be able to have? So the situation the Dodgers were out, there was one out, correct? In this scenario, runners on first and third. In that situation with one out, runners on first and third, the team on offense is expected to score 1.31 runs. 1.3 run because it's a large sample size. They're taking into account a whole bunch of different scenarios. If the runner is thrown out at second base, that would mean there was a runner at third with two outs, and assuming that the run doesn't come up with a score, that lowers the run expectancy to 0.32. Yeah. So the actual throw down at the major league level, not at the minor league level where the execution being able to throw down isn't as effective, which is why at the Great Lakes level, oftentimes in this scenario, they fake a throw down and then act like they're going to throw it over to third base, but they don't end up throwing down. At the major league level, there's a little bit more execution that you actually be able to trust. And even if there's a 30% chance that you're able to go ahead and throw them out, you're not expecting the ball to be able to bounce away, and you are not dealing with the fastest runner. You're dealing with a good runner, but not the fastest runner in Davis Schneider, to where you think there's a possibility that you could go ahead and get him out. You go from 1.31 runs to, if you're able to get him out, 0.32 run expectancy. Whereas if it is if it is second and third, if he's able to go down there, it's a 1.41 type of run expectancy. So there is the upside of being able to throw him out was worth it to the Los Angeles Dodgers with one out in that particular scenario. However, the execution was not there. It cannot bounce away from a Miguel Rojas, and the Dodgers didn't execute that, and that led to the run scoring. So run expectancy matrices, and I'm sure with them, they're just on the field playing the game of baseball. But this is also some of the stuff that they go over in spring training. This is the stuff they go over with game planning, when to actually do this, which runners do we want to be able to actually throw down in this particular scenarios. There's a lot of different coaching elements and a lot of different strategic elements that the team has to be able to make as best as they possibly can in this scenario. And unfortunately, it did not go the Dodgers' way.
It absolutely did not. Okay, so yeah, we'll have right now. Yeah, this is a good idea. And having a minor league watch party on getaway days, like whenever the Dodgers play in the afternoon, like they did today, then that opens up the window that evening where we could sit around and watch the minor league action and comment on it. And we could have done that tonight with Tulsa, but Austin and I haven't talked to each other about any of this stuff in a while, so we had a lot we wanted to talk about for one. But I'm umpiring every night right now, and I'm going to do that about the next 3 weeks. And so I'm just not this is my only night of the week that I'm not umpiring. And that's the only because in Oklahoma they don't play on Wednesday because it's church night. So I'd say beginning of May, I'm just not available at night. So which is why also the channel's been alight on live shows lately too. So that's kind of where I'm at with the live shows as of right now. Maybe as the summer goes on, we'll get into some of those, but as of right now, just not time for those. Okay, so but that is a great idea, and we'll definitely. I agree. I don't think any other YouTube channel does that, so maybe that would give us some unique properties that other people don't. So, okay, Andy Pages, where are we going to end up with him? I mean, you're a statistician, so you believe in okay. Well, you can't take the best score and you can't take the worst score. It's going to end up, like the Toronto Blue Jays. They were terrible 2 years ago. Great last year. Terrible. So it's like they're not as bad as they have been this year. They're not as good as they were last year. They're somewhere in between that, right? Andy Pages has to be somewhere in between the way that he ended last year and what he is right now. What does that in between look like to you?
Yeah, it is. When we're talking about Andy Pages, first off, let's talk about where he ended last year. 113 WRC plus overall in the season, 13% above league average. Decent amount of power, but a little bit of swing and miss. That's what we saw during the game today. 4 strikeouts, struggle for an in game for Andy Pages. I have confidence that he's going to be able to make the adjustment because holy cow, did he come out of the season absolutely on fire. Still, even after the game today, still has a 213 WRC plus. Look, the numbers that he was putting up early in the season were not sustainable. But if you're talking about Andy Pages with the defensive aspect that he is able to provide for this team, which he has not turned into a good defensive center fielder, he's turned into a very good defensive center fielder. Elite defensive center. Yes, he's turned into elite defensive center fielder. His range that he has, his ability to be able to make adjustments, and the confidence that he is playing with right now. That's the thing with Andy Pages is when he is confident, he is so good, and that leads to a lot of swings. That's not going to lead to a whole lot of walks, but that's because he is confident in the approach that he is actually able to take. With his ability to be able to play defensively as well as he does in center field, even just average to slightly above league average offense is going to create an incredibly valuable player. Even last year, he was top 12, I believe, in overall outfield Fangraphs wins above replacement. He already has 1 wins above replacement this year for the contributions that he's been able to produce. I think leaning into a little bit more of the power, being able to access that a little bit more this year, it's going to lead to a little bit better offensive stats. You saw it during the game today. There was a pitch, obviously a strike, but he was looking for a little bit more patience on a 3-2 pitch. Just didn't guess right on what the pitch that he was going to land in the actual zone. With Pages, it is more about being the confident version that he actually is and leaning into that. That's the only thing that I'm focused on with Andy Pages, because when he's confident, he's so good.
He absolutely is. And let me back this up and let me get into this catch from Andy Pages. If you remember, Austin, just about this time last year, he had this exact same play, okay?
Yep.
And you probably remember the episode. I'll bet you do, okay? And my exact comment was, this play right here that's directly over his head, he is never going to learn how to play that play properly in center field because he's not going to get enough of them to be able to learn how to play them correctly. Okay, that was literally my exact comment, and boy, has he proven me wrong, which I am so happy about. I am not, I could never have been, hey man, when players excel and prove me wrong by being good, that nothing makes me happier. Trust me on that. So what I'm trying to say is, okay, what I want you to pay attention to in this play is not that he caught it. I think maybe the novice fan would look at this and go, well, he overran and he basket caught it. You made that play look harder than it should have been. Bull crap. I mean, don't give me that crap. This is not a good play. This is an awesome play considering the wind is blowing. And then let me also explain what I'm saying. Okay, let me back it up one more time. Watch when this hits. See how he turns his back? He's not even looking at the ball right there. Did you see that?
Yep.
He actually turned his back to the ball, lost sight of the ball for about a second, turned back around, found the ball again. What he did last year in this exact show on this exact play was that he tried to watch the ball the entire time. And if you try to, I mean, you can't turn your head all the way around, right? So if you're having to run directly backwards and trying to watch the ball at the same time, there's no way of doing it other than backpedaling, okay? And so the fact that he was able to run to a spot, turn back around, find the ball, he overran it because the wind was blowing, okay? I mean, we don't really actually even know if he overran it because I don't know how the wind actually affected this play. This was a play that showed me, because even then on that show back then, I was like, hey, he's going to be fine going left. He's going to be fine going right. He's really good coming in. That play directly over his head, I just don't think he's ever going to get comfortable with in center field. That play right there convinced me this dude has put the time in. He is ready to be not a good center fielder defensively, elite defensive center fielder. That play to me turned a corner. I'm not telling you. I'm not over-exaggerating this either.
Yeah, no, that was an amazing play to be able to see him do. He provides so much value to this Dodgers team overall with the structure of what his contract is, with the ability to be able to play defensively in center field. There's a reason why they are able to have Teo and Tucker in this outfield, is because Andy Pages bridges that gap, and he is going to be a Los Angeles Dodger for a while now, and I'm excited about it.
Okay, Austin, we have a question. Is there any way to lock down Andy Pages' offensive stats versus frontline starters?
So that's a
not tonight probably, but yes, maybe on a Monday show.
Yes, so that would be so. I don't think that I have the tools and the resources to be able to do that. Unless it's more a manual type of calculation type of thing. So there's a couple of different resources that I've used in the past to be able to collect baseball statistics. There's a resource. What is that resource? It's through Baseball Reference, StatHead. I've been able to. I've gotten that in the past to be able to have. I've used that. There's a little bit of limitations with some of the searches that you're able to have with that. It's not perfect, but that's a good resource. There's no resource that's completely perfect. Use Fangraphs obviously all the time for a lot of different resources. I don't think there's a way on Fangraphs to be able to look individually at specific type of pitchers, neither with some of the search engine, which I've done a lot of different deep dives into some of the search engines, obviously with Swing Decisions, but on Baseball Savant. Those are kind of the three search engines that I've used in the past for a lot of research. I don't think there is a way to be able to access a lot of that type of stuff with against specific type of pitchers. Like one of the questions that I've gotten in the past was, what about pitchers with an ERA sub 3? Or with a specific type of characteristic, how do hitters do against those type of pitchers? There might be a way to be able to do that with StatHead. I don't have access to that right now. I think a lot of that's going to be a little bit more manual type of calculation. So if you build a little bit of a framework, give me time to be able to build that and look into some of the stats and look into 2025 as well as what he's doing in 2026. I'd be happy to be able to look into that.
Awesome. Sounds like whenever you have time.
Yep.
And a Monday
sounds
show,
like a little bit of a project.
It sounds like we're going to have. Problem is, the longer you wait, the more data you have to compile, and the more time.
That's the fun stuff. You get more data and stuff. That's the fun part.
So we have a question here, Lucy Chin. Why Dave Roberts doesn't consider to play the young guys today, a.k.a. Rushing Kim? Seems the whole lineup was a step slow. That's it. The day game after the night game. That's a good point. Day game after the night game. Usually that's when your older guys don't play because that's it's a really quick turnaround, and that's when you get a guy like a Dalton Rushing. That's a perfect segue because Dalton Rushing, 4 hits on Sunday. He had 3 home runs in 2 games. I mean, he's turning into the Dalton Rushing we've been telling you he's always going to be, right? I mean, and we've also said, come on, you can't evaluate a guy that's getting inconsistent. You can't take Freddie Freeman and give him inconsistent playing time and expect him to hit the ball very well. Nonetheless, a rookie. I mean, we've just tried to beat this into people's heads, and I don't mean to sound cocky or arrogant or know-it-allish, but I'm not wrong on that. You just cannot take Dalton Rushing or any rookie, give him inconsistent at bats and go, well, he sucks. He's not what we thought he was going to be because he's not hitting Well, no crap, he's not hitting very well. First of all, you mentioned hitting 70% fail rate. Now imagine not getting to consistently do that, and then also not getting the buffer of being able to fail, make the adjustments, fail again, and continue to do that until you figure things out, like an Andy Pages, the type of runway an Andy Pages has gotten, right? I mean, if we had canned Andy Pages after the first 30 games, every Dodgers fan would have thought he was the biggest bust of all time. So it's exciting to see. And we've also said, I thought Dalton, he would kind of understand, hey, this is my role. It is what it is. It's not necessarily what I want, but this is what I need to find the best version of this role. So it's super exciting to see Dalton Rushing do that. Having said that, that's a great point by Lucy Chen. Today's the perfect day, the day game after the night game. You've already won 5 games in a row on your road trip. I mean, you're going to win the division by 30 games. You would think today would be a good day to get Dalton Rushing back in the lineup. How do we get Dalton Rushing 300 at bats? Because I know, hey, load manage Freddie Freeman. He ain't going to load manage. You know why? Because he didn't hit 300 last year. Okay, I promise you, not hitting 300 is pissing Freddie Freeman off to no end. And also, he's chasing 3,000 hits. Freddie Freeman's not going to load manage. So if you're not going to get Dalton Rushing at bats on getaway days, day games after night games, how are you going to get him at bats?
Okay, so there's a couple of different points on there. First, I'll set aside the Dalton Rushing point in just a second. I want to talk first about the Ha-Seong Kim, Miguel Rojas. First off, Ha-Seong Kim played the past 2 games, was great. The reason why Miguel Rojas was in the game today, I think, is because he specifically wanted to be in the game today. Obviously, family situation going on. Absolutely hearts and prayers for Miguel Rojas, for his family, with the passing of his father. Absolutely hearts and prayers for him. He wanted to be in the game today. I think that's why he was specifically in the lineup, where you could have made a suggestion. And I think this is, if you're talking about strategically in the game of baseball, where there probably should have been some type of move. Top of the 7th, Miguel Rojas gets on second base. I think that's when the Dodgers could have, and perhaps arguably should have, made a substitution. It was a 2-1 game at the time. They should have substituted, in my opinion, Ha-Seong Kim in that. It was getting later in the game. Kim, obviously, much better runner than Miguel Rojas. Rojas ended up scoring on the play, but it was a little bit of a closer play. I think with Kim, with his speed that he had, that would have been potentially an opportunity to place him in the game and still feel confident about the defense that was going to be able to provide, and know that maybe there's one additional plate appearance that happens later in the game that you might be giving to Kim over Miguel Rojas, but that might have been worth it at that particular time. That's where you could have a little bit of argument. But as far as starting the game, and you could make the argument also, just let Miguel Rojas be able to play the game. He's likely going to take a couple days off to be able to go spend some time with his family. I don't have any issues with that. You talk about Dalton Rushing. I think this had a little bit more to do perhaps with some of the game planning going into this series. Obviously, Rushing played on Sunday and on Monday, back-to-back games. I think specifically working with individual pitchers. I think going into this series, there was perhaps more of a, we're talking about games, and I think the organization wanted Will Smith to work with Yamamoto, and they wanted him to work with Ohtani. And that left Justin Robleski to be able to work with a Dalton Rushing, a little bit more of a back-to-back additional rest type of games for Will Smith. I think that's a little bit more to be able to do with it, although certainly you could make the argument, getaway game, get Rushing a little bit more opportunities. Look, Rushing has been phenomenal to the start of the season, and there was signs pointing to him having some level of additional success if he could cut back on the whiff percentage. He was barreling off the baseball and pulling the ball in the air. If you hit the baseball hard and you pull the ball in the air, you are going to have a lot of success in the power component. And that is what we're starting to see, some of the success and some of the more comfortability with Dalton Rushing to be able to get into this role. Look, when we talk about how do we get Dalton Rushing 300 plate appearances, I will say there is no way to get Rushing that amount of plate appearances, aside from somebody being able to limit some of the role that they had, or at least take it a little bit of a step back with some of the role, or an injury taking place. There is no other path with Dalton Rushing in his three possible position that he can play at catcher, at first base, and at designated hitter. When we talked about going into the season, how do we get Dalton Rushing to a reasonable amount of plate appearances? One of the aspects that we talked about was, okay, maybe he plays 60 to 65-ish games behind the plate. Maybe he gets 10-ish starts at first base. Doesn't sound like he is going to get a ton of time at first base with the way that Freddie Freeman wants to be able to have. And if that's going to limit that, and if Will Smith is going to take every third day, that's going to limit Dalton Rushing's playing time to closer to 50 to 52 type of games, as opposed to the 60 to 65 type of games. Obviously, a lot of things happen throughout the course of the season, and Rushing is going to do what he can with the role that he's been given to maximize the role that he has. But unless there is step back from some of the other players at the positions that they have, or an injury takes place, there is no additional playing time for Dalton Rushing. With the talent that he has, that's frustrating for him. But for the Los Angeles Dodgers to have this as your backup catcher, this is in part what they were envisioning for this team going forward.
So, loved Benny Biceps. He was awesome. Okay, yep. This is not a knock on Benny Biceps. There was a time to where I thought Austin Barnes was a 1A type catcher. How about 2020, whenever he had to come in for Will Smith? And what's kind of interesting about Will Smith and Austin Barnes, this is an absolute fact. This isn't me saying this. This is the people inside the Dodgers organization. Austin Barnes was the catcher that was supposed to be the offensive guy, and Will Smith was supposed to be the defensive catcher. Will Smith hit like $190 at AAA Oklahoma City like for a long time. He was not always a great offensive player. And so it was always just kind of a brain teaser to me that around the 2020 period, it got flipped, and all of a sudden Will Smith became the offensive player, and Austin Barnes became whatever Austin Barnes became. So I don't want to take anything away from Austin Barnes, because there was a period of time in the 2019-2020 period to where I thought Austin Barnes was quality enough to be a starting catcher for the Dodgers and a lot of other teams too. So that period of time, take that into consideration. I thought that Ben Rortvedt did a fantastic job last year, okay, whenever he was given an opportunity. Dalton Rushing was not ready for the type of role that he was given, the inconsistencies of it. He just didn't deal with it. Like no rookie probably really would. That's not a knock against him. That's just a knock against the role the Dodgers had available for him. Having said all that, the Dodgers have never had a backup catcher that can do the things that Dalton Rushing can do. End of discussion. Yes. Period. Sorry. I mean, I know if you like whoever or whatever, this, whatever, they have never had a backup catcher that can do the things defensively, that can do the things offensively, that can run team meetings, be a leader in the team meetings with veteran pitchers like Dalton Rushing can. The Dodgers have never had a backup catcher that can do the things that Dalton Rushing can do. I'm not going to back off of that.
Yep, and Rushing is awesome with what he's able to do. His power to potential is absolutely there, and I don't think last year with the swing and miss that he has is something that is going to sustain long term, because this is not something that we saw to this degree long term at the minor league level. It could still be above average, but I think Rushing has an immense amount of potential with him, with the power that he has, that I'm looking forward to see what he's able to do. And I also know that if he is able to continue to have a level of success, like, for example, if in his next couple of starts, he hits another home run or two, then we start getting into serious conversations of, okay, we know that we have to be able to get him into more plate appearances at the big league level. Perhaps the other strategy, which is not the thing that I had mentioned, is finding opportune times to be able to pinch hit Dalton Rushing into a game. Now, the tricky part with that is you give up your backup catcher at that point, which is not something typically that the Dodgers want to be able to do.
And they don't have Kike as an emergency catcher right now.
They do not have that. But we've also seen them pinch hit Will Smith in opportunities to be able to go ahead and find success. Now, they have a lot of confidence in Will Smith being able to go out there, but we've seen them be able to do this in the past. Could we see Dalton Rushing be able to take a little bit more of that mantle? Tricky part with that is, who would you pinch hit for in this lineup?
Well, what if your catcher gets hurt at that point? You've already pinch hit and used your backup catcher.
Yeah, then you're
So
screwed.
Kike Hernandez is your emergency catcher at that time. You don't have him right now.
Yep.
I think it'd probably be Max Muncy, and you damn sure don't want to do that.
Nope. No.
Like Kike Hernandez, okay, he takes one off, then he's out for 2 weeks. Okay, whatever. He's your utility guy. Yeah. And it's the regular season. Who gives a crap? Because he's not very good in the regular season. Yeah. Anyways, Max Muncy. Anybody want to put Max Muncy behind the plate because you pinch hit Will Smith in the 7th inning? Not I, right? So that's the problem with the pinch hitting for a Dalton Rushing is that you lose your backup catcher. Then if Will Smith takes a nick, either you're having to play him injured behind the plate or you're having to put an everyday regular behind the plate that you really can't afford to do that with. So that makes that very tricky.
Yeah, that is the risk reward type of scenario, which is why typically, for example, when you saw in this game against the Nationals where the Dodgers came back, Will Smith came in and was able to go pinch hit late in that game. It's going to be late in the game type of scenarios, and that's still going to be very limited opportunities. You're talking about one plate appearance here or there when the Dodgers feel like it's a good matchup potentially for that to be able to take place. And as you said, it's not a whole lot of plate appearances that he's going to be able to get. But the good thing is, I think with this year that he's been able to take, I think Rushing has gotten a lot more comfortable with this particular type of role and what is expected of him and what it takes to be successful at the big league level. And I think that's led to where we've seen some of the success that he's had because he's a little bit more comfortable in his role.
What word did you use there?
A little bit more comfortable in his role.
Comfortable. It's amazing how much that word means in the game of baseball. Comfortable.
Yeah.
Comfortable. You got to get comfortable. Like some players, literally, you put them in front of a microphone, they're like, you put them anywhere else on earth, and they're like just frozen. You put them on a baseball field, and it's in front of millions of people watching, and they're just totally comfortable. It's literally. I can't tell you how many baseball players, especially because I'm around them more, that the only place on earth that they're comfortable is on a baseball field. It's absolutely, they're shy, they're this or that. They get them on a field, they're an animal or a dog, right? So that word comfortable means so much, especially to a guy who's trying to break into the major leagues, prove himself. And another thing, I think as you get more time in the major leagues, Dalton Rushing is now being seen as the Dodgers' backup catcher versus the Dodgers' number one prospect. So there's a certain amount of pressure that gets relieved off of you that, hey, I'm expected to perform as a backup as opposed to this prospect that everybody thinks is the bust because I'm the number one guy. So I think just that in itself drops off your back, and that helps relax you and get you, as you said, perfect word, Austin, comfortable. And we have a $20 super chat from our residential rock star, CNAV, Christopher Navarro. Thanks for considering my ideas. I totally appreciate what you guys do. We will definitely have a watch show in Austin as he has time. We'll dive into that Andy Pages homework. And actually, I'm getting a correction here from Joshua Holtz, who says that Alex Call would be the backup catcher, which is great. That to me, if Alex Call is your backup catcher, that I'm good with pinch hitting Will Smith or Dalton Rushing because it's not an everyday guy. If he goes down and takes one off the finger and breaks a finger, fine. You call up Hess on camera, whoever, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I was about to say you would look for somebody off the bench, and it's probably not going to be Miguel Rojas. You're not going to put him back there. So it would either be an Alex Call, which probably be the scenario, or somebody like a Ha-Seong Kim being able to do that there, which I know Ha-Seong Kim is versatile. I can do a lot of things on the baseball field. I have not seen him behind the plate, though. But hopefully it doesn't get to that type of scenario, and hopefully the Dodgers are able to find opportune ways to be able to maximize the skill set that Rushing has, and especially if he's able to access in-game power, that can be a powerful weapon, even with some of the right-handed bats. Even if you feel a little bit more comfortable, let's say the Dodgers get to a point where the Dodgers are in a scenario where they're facing a good high-leverage right-handed pitcher. Well, if Rushing is able to have a whole lot of success, then it comes down to different matchups that you see, and you're talking about different players. Like, for example, if they have Miguel Rojas in the game, finding ways to get Dalton Rushing, perhaps a plate appearance, or even if they're concerned with some of the swing and miss type of stuff that the pitcher is able to have, even to players like a Teoscar Hernandez, perhaps being able to do that. Could be different options that come down there. Not saying that it will happen, but could potentially happen when you're talking about the game of baseball in specific matchups that could match up well for Dalton Roshing.
Roki Sasaki, the splitter, is not landing. Okay. We're gonna say that point blank. But I'll say this, and I don't know if you can access these statistics.
Yep.
What is the batting average, the average major league batting average when a pitcher throws strike one? So in other words, the pitcher gets ahead in the count versus whenever the pitcher throws ball one. What's the difference in those two? Austin, do you have the ability to access that?
Yeah, it'll take me a minute to be able to access that.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm saying this is that I actually, in a lot of ways, was encouraged by Roki Sasaki's outing the other day. I know, hey, the what was it, 6 runs he gave up or whatever, that's not pretty. I get it. I understand. I'm talking out both sides of my mouth because not 45 minutes ago I was talking about Jack Dreyer and how Major Leagues is all about results and it's not process and this and that. So I'm literally talking out both sides of my mouth, and I get that. But I think there's a certain amount that you have to do that with Roki Sasaki, because I'm going to say this again. I don't think he's on the merit system. I think there's reasons why he's in LA, and I don't think it's necessarily because he's won that job. I think there's just reasons why he has that job at this point. So I think you have to look at that. So as fans, we just have to deal with that. He is in LA, and as long as he's in LA, we got to find reasons why he could be good moving forward. So that's kind of what I'm getting at here. I was very pleased with the way that he threw strike one the other day. I think, if I remember correctly, he threw strike one over 70% of the time. And whenever you have stuff that's as good as Roki Sasaki has, he's incorporating that slider / cutter pitch, which I think is a good pitch for him. I think as time goes on, he will get feel, at least on certain nights, of that splitter. If he continues, it's kind of like the Alex Freeland conversation you had, Austin, where if he continues to make good swing decisions, eventually he should start hitting the ball.
Yep.
I think if Roki Sasaki continues to throw strike one at an above 70% clip, I think eventually he'll start becoming the pitcher that we want him to be. I think the odds will catch up to that.
Yes, I'm still looking up be ways to be able to have that. I'm looking at Baseball Savant right now. I know there's a way to be able to do that. I was looking at 0-1 type of count, but I think there's more that you have to be able to do that. I'll continue to look into that, and I'll try to get some numbers by the end of the show.
Yeah, so, hey, again, Roki Sasaki's in. The conversation isn't should Roki Sasaki be in the rotation. The conversation is, yes, he is in the rotation. That's the decision the Dodgers made. So what is there that we can build on with him to get him to become the pitcher that we need to be? Okay, last conversation about the Dodgers before we get into our Down the Farm segment. And again, the Josue de Paula is 5 for 5 tonight for Tulsa, and he has a home run, by the way. Yeah, he has 5 RBIs.
Cow.
Just hit a home run. His average went from, I believe, 235 up to 381 in one game. Yeah. Kendall George, by the way, is 2 for 3 tonight, 2 RBIs with a walk. And so far, let me look down here.
Yeah, how many stolen bases he got?
Well, George has 4 stolen 4 on the year. He has 1 stolen base tonight.
Okay.
4 stolen bases in 5 games, which means he's on pace to steal about 140 this year. Because if you remember, he didn't have all that many stolen bases at the All-Star break last year because he wasn't getting on base. I mean, I would say probably 75, 80% of his stolen bases came after the All-Star break. So Kendall George, 2 hits tonight. So far, Kendall George is hitting 381 on the year, OPS 909. His on-base percentage is over 500 on the year, and he's averaging right at 1 steal per game. Kendall George, Josue de Paula, 4 hits tonight, including a home run. You mentioned you need to get the ball in the air. 5 RBIs. Zaire Hope has a strikeout rate around 27%, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not touching that. Hey, I will with Zaire Hope. I'm not going to ask for more than that. 27%. I will live with 27% strikeout rate with Zaire Hope every day, twice on Sundays. Now, is that the exact target where I think that's the perfect Zaire Hope, the product? No, I think I'm in agreement with Showtime. I kept saying this about James Outman. If you can get it down to about 25%, you're a much better player. I think we'd all agree 25% is probably the limit you'd like to see. I think 27% for Zaire Hope is close enough. I'll take that, and I'll take the good to go with that 2% over bad, right?
Yeah, that is absolutely right. Yeah, if he's able to limit that at least a bare minimum with how hard he's able to hit the baseball, he's going to have some success.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Let's see. Roki has that ugly leg kick in its delivery. It gives him miles per hour, but it throws off his command. I'm all about control and command. Yeah, no doubt. Okay, so let's get into some of the stuff that's happening on the farm. Austin, let me just open this up to you. Where do you want to go with this?
Okay, down on the farm. So I've been paying attention a lot. I've had the opportunity to be able to go to Great Lakes a lot. So might as well go ahead and start with Great Lakes. I had the opportunity to be able to do a show on Monday, which I addressed at the time. James Tibbs, who hit 7 home runs in 9 games, or 7 home runs in 8 games. Just something ridiculous that he did. I don't know if we want to go ahead and start with him, but a little bit slower the past couple of days. Let's talk a little bit about James Tibbs III, because there is some concern with some of the swing and miss that he has. But if he's able to access at all some of the in-game power to the degree that he has, oh boy, is he good with what he's able to do. 7 home runs in 9 games, made an absolute statement at the beginning of the season. It was tied, at least at that time period, with the minor league leader in home runs across the minor leagues. Obviously, the lower levels off to a little bit of a slower start. With James Tibbs, there's a little bit of whiff that is part of the game, particularly with some of the more off-speed / breaking ball type of pitches. So if he's able to limit some of the swing and miss on those pitches while also being able to elevate the baseball, that's hit left center field. That type of power is absolutely ridiculous. Be patient.
This right here. Yeah.
Yes. Whoo, that's good.
That ball's hit, because I'm telling you that the power alleys in Oklahoma City are like 415. They're the biggest in the PCL. And so, I know that landed well short of the fence, but that's because that's a long ways out there.
Yeah, that is a long ways out there. He is hitting the baseball really hard. Let me go ahead and look up some of the numbers of what he's doing. I don't think this is including the game that he had today, but he's averaging 94 miles per hour. 67.7% of his hits are hit hard this year. Just ridiculous with what he's doing with hitting the baseball. Mm-hmm. Here's my warning. Just be patient with him and allow the process to be able to play out.
It's going to come back down.
yes. And we're starting to see that come back down a little bit, because there are adjustments that he has to make. And with AAA pitchers, while they're not major league pitchers, they're a little bit better at being able to execute and being able to find the holes in his swing, find the holes in his approach. We get excited about it to where we want to have the conversation of what would it take to be able to call him up. And even I had some of the conversation of what it would look like if he continued this to be able to call him up. Just let the process play out. Allow him a couple of months, because he just recently got called up to the AAA level. Allow that process to be able to play out. Allow him to work through what is some of the balance that he has to take with being able to make consistent contact, while also being able to have the impact on the baseball that we are seeing right now. And if we have a little bit of patience with James Tibbs III, I think the Dodgers have a really solid steal of a prospect on their hands.
I know that Dodgers fans, and rightfully so, they didn't like what they saw from Brian Ward in spring training, and he's always a slow start. Yep, other than last year. Last year he was good throughout the entire season. But Ryan Ward has always started slow, which was why I just never thought the spring training evaluation period was ever going to work for him. Ryan Ward quietly all the way back up to 310, couple home runs, OPS of almost 1,000. Ryan Ward, Wardo, is doing Wardo things, and until he gets run at the major league level, like real run, not every now and then at spring training where, hey, you have 15 at bats to prove yourself, right? Not that kind of run. Who knows whether he could hit major league pitching? I don't know. I'm not going to accept that he's a quad A guy, because he's never had a chance to play in the major leagues and prove himself. He's never had a runway like even a James Outman got, right? So Ryan Ward turning into Ryan Ward. Actually, the way I put that, Ryan Ward is turning into Wardo again. He got off to a slow start, including spring training. He's getting things heated back up.
Yeah, he's getting things heated back up. If you did not had the opportunity to be able to watch the game today, which I was watching during work where I was working, but also slightly paying attention to the Loons game, Ryan Ward went off today. 4 for 4 with a home run. This was a stat that the minor league baseball account had posted with him. Ryan Ward leads minors this decade, so dating back to 2021, with 148 home runs, 490 RBIs, 444 runs, and 1,288 total bases. Obviously, you hope for Ryan Ward, for his sake, that he does not have to continue being at the minor leagues for the entirety of his career.
Yeah, DFA him, man.
But with Wardo, do what you can with the opportunities that you have given to him. And hopefully the organization is able to do right by him at some point. Obviously, don't want to see him in Oklahoma City for too terribly much longer, because he doesn't deserve to be in Oklahoma City if he gets on fire, because he's already shown that he can hit AAA pitching. It's about that next step of what he's going to be able to do against Major League pitching, which right now we have no idea what he's going to do against Major League pitching.
No idea. Okay, I'll tell you another guy. Here I go. Say, hey, tell me what you think, and then I'm dictating this. Very intriguing to me. Ryan Fitzgerald's a freaking good ball player, man. This guy is of course, I'm seeing him against AAA pitching. I get it. I'm telling you, man, he's a good athlete. He's playing a really good third base defensively. He's got a short, compact swing. He's quick. He has major league experience. I mean, look how quick those hands are. Look how deep. Watch how deep he lets that ball get him. Look how quiet his head doesn't move. I'm telling you, man, I guess it's my coach brain more than the results. I really like and I knew nothing about Ryan Fitzgerald before he came to the Dodgers this year. So kind of like Santiago Espinal. I knew a little bit more about Espinal. I knew nothing about Ryan Fitzgerald. I'm very impressed with him. Is there any chance that Ryan Fitzgerald gets called up for a cup of coffee and DFA'd? Is he that up and out guy?
He potentially, and this is when you start to get to some of the reserves with some of the infielders. Ryan Fitzgerald got a lot of runway in spring training, and I think that's because he's kind of a little bit more of that next tier of guys that the Dodgers could potentially call up. This is a guy with Ryan Fitzgerald who did get a cup of coffee at the major league level last year with the Minnesota Twins and posted a 110 WRC plus for the Twins. With Fitzgerald, when he is right, he's able to limit some of the swing and miss that he has. I know a lot of the numbers at the minor league levels are a little bit of the mid-20s in strikeouts, but that's not what he is doing right now. He's hitting for consistent contact. He's striking out at a less than 11% clip right now. And the whiff percentage overall for him is below league average. It's 20.5% whiff percentage. Just the overall numbers Ryan Fitzgerald has produced: 164 WRC plus on the season, 386 batting average going into the game today. Does not include any of the results that happened in the game. He had another hit today, now batting 375. He's doing really well on the season. Some of the underlying metrics, he's not hitting the baseball incredibly hard, but if he's making consistent contact, which when I say incredibly hard, I'm saying 88 miles per hour is his average exit velo, 32% hard hit percentage. He still is putting up really good results when he's able to make consistent contact.
90 is the major league average for exit velo, correct?
And the major league average last year,
I know that, but
yes, the major league average was about 89 and a half is what it was. So just a little bit slightly below league average of what the major league average was last year. So Ryan Fitzgerald is a good baseball player. It is about when the opportunity could possibly arise. And if there is a need for another infielder to be part of the mix, there is a possibility. Not saying that he's at the top of the list, not saying that he is going to be the guy that gets called upon, because the Dodgers would need to add him to the 40-man roster. But you're talking about somebody with a little bit of major league experience. Ryan Fitzgerald has been there before, and the Dodgers could have the opportunity to be able to trust him. And if there's something, for example, if Miguel Rojas needs to be able to take a couple of days off, I wouldn't expect them to do that. But if they needed another infielder, Ryan Fitzgerald is towards the top of the list where they could make that decision.
Question is, do they think little of him enough to say we're okay with DFAing him? The problem is, if they actually really like Fitzgerald, it's a weird situation, because that gives him a lesser opportunity to go up to LA, because they're not going to want to DFA him and lose him at that point. That's the screwy deal for a player, is sometimes the more the club thinks about you, the less likely you have a chance, because they don't want to take the chance of losing you. I'm going to throw you for a curveball here, Austin.
You got it.
Got to see him today. Okay. Literally almost 365 days ago, I got to see this guy with my own eyes in Stillwater, Oklahoma, strike out 9 OSU baseball players in 4 innings. Okay. And he was pitching for Kansas State. And I talked to Coach Holliday before the game, at that time, Coach Walton. And, of course, K-State's not a bad baseball program. Pete Hughes is awesome. He's their head coach. He was at OU. He was at Virginia Tech. Matter of fact, Pete Hughes is the one who recruited Carson Taylor. You remember Carson, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's in the Dodgers system, yeah. Okay, so he's been around. He's recruited many a great player. And coming into that outing last year against OSU, all of the OSU coaches were like, I'm just telling you, we're getting ready to face a lefty that's going to be in the major leagues in about 2 years. That was their narrative on Jacob Frost. Now, they didn't tell their kids that. They told me that, right? Okay. He went out and struck out 9 guys in 4 innings. His fastball was electric. It had that tail to it. His slider was insane, and he made, well, some really good hitters. I mean, hell, Braden Smith got drafted. We had 2 or 3 guys that got drafted last year position-wise. Just made him look stupid, right? Jacob Frost, I'm going to tell you right now, Jacob, doesn't come from like having one really great outing today. This comes from Division I college coaches who have seen, well, Josh Holliday coached, no, you know Josh. I mean, that would tell you last year, this is a guy that's going to be in the major leagues in 2 or 3 years. That was the narrative on him. This was not a fluke what Jacob Frost did today in his affiliated debut with the Great Lakes Loons. He was insanely impressive today.
He was really impressive. So actually, he made one appearance opening day. I had the chance to be able to see him.
So I missed on that. Oh,
it did not go exactly the way that he wanted. Walked a couple of hitters in that appearance. It didn't have complete control of all of his different stuff. Still was able to get a couple of innings out of him. And today was something completely different from what we saw during his first appearance, at least during the first inning of his first appearance. He pitched 3 innings during the course today, had, I believe it was 6 different strikeouts against the West Michigan lineup, which West Michigan is the team that won the Midwest League last year. Obviously, very different offense than what they had last year, but he was really effective. Had a pitch tailing away from right-handed hitters that was really effective, that was giving them absolute fits, and working a lot lower in the zone, which is going to lead to a lot of different ground ball type of opportunities for him. Ground balls with the ability to get swings and misses and have that pitch to get right-handed hitters out. That was really impressive today. The bounce back that he had from his first appearance to the confidence that he pitched with today was really cool to be able to see. Jacob Frost, I was so impressed. And you look at this Great Lakes Loons pitching staff, they have so many good left-handed pitchers right now, from the starting rotation with Paddock to Zach Root to Jacob Wright, who made the start today, to the bullpen with Miles Caba, Justin Chambers, Jacob Frost, and Cody Morse as well. There is another collection. Seems like every single year, collection of left-handed pitchers on the Great Lakes staff that are just phenomenal. Jacob Wright it is Jacob Frost, I should say. Jacob Wright obviously started the game.
Jacob Wright's good too.
Jacob Wright's good. Jacob Frost showed his stuff today.
So Alex Vesius / Zach Root. What are your thoughts of him?
So it was a rougher start for Zach Root during his first start that he had. I'm gonna be able to see him coming up. I believe on Friday is going to be his start. So I will be in West Michigan, where the Great Lakes Loons are playing tomorrow, Friday, and then Saturday they have a 2:00 game. So I'll be the next 3 days. I'll be able to watch these games. It'll be my first time seeing in person Zach Root. There wasn't with the swing and miss stuff that he had during the spring breakout game, that stood out massively. And I'm sure it was a little bit of adjustment playing in the extreme cold that was Great Lakes on Easter Sunday. You're talking about 30 degrees, generous 30 degrees and on windy. Easter Sunday, where it's Easter Sunday and there wasn't hardly anybody that was in the stands during that day. There's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period that he has. I'm looking forward to be able to see Zach Root in person. That's when I'm going to be able to make a little bit more of observations as to how he's actually doing, what the stuff actually looks like. I'm looking forward to it, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to let you Who do you want to go to next?
Yeah, so let's go to Chuck. Let's go to Charles Davelin.
Oh man, love this guy.
Yes, this
Rudy?
guy is
Rudy.
Yeah, this guy is.
You know who? You saw the movie Rudy, right?
Yeah, I've seen the movie.
That's exactly
Rudy.
who Charles Davelin looks like.
Yeah, he is. He's been fun to watch. He's hitting the baseball hard with what he did on Sunday, which he had 2 home runs in the same inning, including a grand slam. I think that showed you the power that he has. And he also had a ball that was hit yesterday that I was at the game that was hit really hard to deep center field. Just his ability to be able to swing the bat and just have complete control in the batter's box is really impressive to be able to watch.
You know where he's from?
Where is he from?
Canada.
He's from Canada, yeah.
He is the only one in that entire stadium that didn't give a crap that it was cold. And that's why he hit 2 home runs.
Yes. Oh, man, that's such a good point, too, because it was so cold out that
He's
day.
not cold. Look at him. He's not even worried about it.
No. And, his bat is what is going to carry him. Yeah, he can hit, and that's all you have to know about Chuck. And Charles Davelin is he can absolutely hit the baseball, and I'm so excited to be able to have him for a good chunk of the season.
Okay, who else do we want to go to? Zezweta?
Yeah, let's go to Zezweta because he just made a brief appearance with Great Lakes last year. Spent most of the time in single A level Rancho Cucamonga at the time, and didn't get much of an impression from him last year. But the impression that he made instantly in the game against Fort Wayne was so impressive. He's going to be on the mound, I believe, Saturday. 7 strikeouts in 4 innings with 1 walk. He has great command of the strike zone. Not going to be somebody that walks a whole lot of hitters. I think closer to a 5-6% walk percentage for him last year. A little bit more command, which is a little bit more unusual for.
So he has great command, pitchers. Right?
He's got great command.
He was throwing 98.
He's throwing 98.
98.
98. That is ridiculous.
I mean, he was 93, 94, 95 last year, the year before.
Yeah. If he's throwing 98, his stuff is going to absolutely play. That was part of the excitement in the spring breakout game with Zach Root is he was throwing with some really good velo, and to have Zezweta in one of the coldest games that he's going to play on the entire year, throwing 98 and that type of stuff, that can lead to a lot of consistency throughout the course of the season. A .85 FIP after that first appearance for him, 1.21 expected FIP because he got a lot of swing and miss. He was able to limit some of the contact to balls on the ground. Zezweta, oh boy, I'm excited for him. Have the rotation. You have the 3 of the pitchers in your rotation for Great Lakes be Paddock, who was great on opening day, Zach Root, first round draft pick, and Zezweta. Let's talk about Paddock. Yeah, let's talk about Sterling because I'm right behind home plate. I'm white jersey, literally right above Sterling Paddock, right up there.
Hold on, let me back that up. You're right here.
Yeah, literally right there. Yeah, you'll see me at a lot of these games. Here. Oh yeah, and watching each and every single pitch.
You got your old school gear on there, your red hat and your white shirt. You're going old school there.
Oh, that's clean. That's clean type opening day. Got to keep it clean with the red sweatshirt and several other layers underneath it to be able to help cover up with that. Awesome. 5 innings for Sterling Paddock on opening day. It was one of the best opening day starts that I've seen in a while. There's been some good opening day starts that the Great Lakes has had. 7 strikeouts on the day for him. I don't think he walked a single hitter as well. To be fair, 2 of those strikeouts came with tin caps batters, not getting in the batter's box on time and being automatic strikeouts. So there's a little bit of a caveat in that. But the swing and miss stuff that he had and the breaking balls that he was able to do with right-handers starting way outside of the zone and sneaking back into the zone and then tailing away from left-handed hitters. That is, he's really good and really crafty with what he's able to do. Sterling Paddock was really impressive during the game. His first appearance. He's going to be starting at the game tomorrow, I believe. So I'll be excited to be able to see another start for Sterling Paddock coming up.
You're missing one that you're going to kick yourself for not mentioning so far.
All right, who am I missing?
You want to try to think who it was that you're missing?
No, I'm gonna let you go ahead and spoil it.
Go ahead and look.
Oh, yeah, Aiden Fuller with his start yesterday.
Holy stuff! This guy's always had the swing and miss. He's never been able to throw strikes. All that came together in a positive way the other day. When he throws strikes, his stuff is electric, isn't it?
Yeah, when he throws strikes, and that's the biggest thing with Fuller is his numbers were good. He was able to get 30% strikeout percentage roughly from the starting pitcher. The issue was he walked guys at a 15, 16%, which he did have some command issues with. They had 4 walks that he had. A lot of Whitecaps hitters were a little bit more patient at the plate, understanding what it takes to be able to have some success out of Aiden Fuller. But it doesn't matter with the swing and miss stuff that he had. Got out of a jam early in the game. I believe it was the first inning that he had, or one of the early innings, got a really big double play with the bases loaded. And then after that, just went out there and dominated West Michigan hitters. His stuff plays really good and just gets a lot of swing and miss stuff. If he's able to have a little bit of control over that, it's going to lead to a lot of success.
It absolutely. You know, a guy that, hey, he's a top prospect, but you know how I put everybody on the same plane. Like Elijah Hainline's on the same plane with everybody. I'm telling you,
yeah.
I had 3 AAA guys, quad A guys. I'm not going to give their names. I've had 3 quad A guys that have major league experience that played for Oklahoma City last year that are no longer with Oklahoma City that messaged me this week that Elijah Hainline's a dog, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, he absolutely. Yeah. You know, and the reason why they're doing that is because they know he's not on the top prospects list and this and that, but yet he's good. You know, kind of like the Ben Kasparius, who always was ranked well below Bobby Miller and Justin Robleski, and basically everybody who's actually made the major leagues with the Los Angeles Dodgers. They haven't been on a top prospects list. Andy Paez was forever, but I mean, he didn't make it. I mean, Andy Paez was scheduled to make the major leagues. Of course, he did have the one injury, but I say that to say that Emil Morales is a guy that's always been thought of very, very well, you know, but I'm always skeptical. I mean, they have to prove it to me. This guy's cutting down his swing so far. You know, he's always had the power, but he's always had that long, loopy swing. Yep. And so he hits the ball a mile, but then he has that hole in the inner half, that Diego Cartaya thing. Yeah, it's that hole on the inner half, and then it's the hole on the so the fastball in and the breaking ball away. That was always what I worried about with Andy Paez, because he had that long loopy type swing from time to time. To me, it looks like Emil Morales is shortened to swing up, and because of that, he's off to a really good start. So can you talk about the start that Emil Morales is off to?
Yeah, I've not seen a whole lot of Emil Morales so far. I've not had the chance to be able to watch a ton of Tower Buzzers games, which, by the way, what an opening weekend for the Ontario Tower Buzzers. The stuff that they posted on social media is phenomenal. The crowd engagement has been fun to watch. If you have the opportunity to, which their next home series will be coming up this upcoming Tuesday, which will include a weekend series where the Dodgers are going to be on the road. Check out an Ontario Tower Buzzers game. It's going to be worth it for you. Emil Morales to start the season. 389 batting average to start the season, 429 on base percentage. I'm assuming that's just 1 walk that he's had, or 2 walks that he's had to start the season. 7 strikeouts, part in the mix in 21 plate appearances. Perhaps could be a little bit high. Perhaps you could be a little bit concerned with some of the swing you miss. But his ability to be able to, and this is where you have to watch some of the games to see how he does against very specific pitch types that might have caused him some issues in the past. If he's able to hit those very specific pitch types and do some damage well against them, it's not going to be long before Emil Morales makes the jump up to the Great Lakes level, because last year he dominated Class A in Rancho Cucamonga with a 160 WRC plus. If he has anywhere near that type of success, he's going to be a really young player in the Midwest League, and that's going to be exciting.
Yeah. Actually, I watch every single one of Ontario's games. And I saw the Marlon Nieves start the other day, no doubt about that. He's been absolutely very good. 96, 98 with 2-seam and nasty slider. Changeup is good. Yeah, Marlon. I didn't post about him. I should have. He's the only one I haven't posted about. But yeah, actually, I do watch I watch all the minor league games with equal. I know, Austin, you go to the Great Lakes games more, but I watch just as many Ontario games as I do Oklahoma City or Tulsa games. It's a little tougher because it is a little later. But, okay, let's get to a couple more guys here. I wanted to talk about Kenny George, the great start that he is off to. And yes, some of these hits have been infield hits, and he's beat them out. Like one of them yesterday was an infield hit, but the other one was a solid line drive back up the middle. He's stealing about one base per game. Kenny George, man, he has been. This is about as impressive as a period that I've seen of Kenny George for me. I think from the All-Star break moving forward, I think the light bulb's kind of gone off for him, if that makes sense.
He knows what type of player that he is. He knows his skill sets.
Yeah, right.
He knows his strengths, and he knows how to be able to access those skill sets and strengths. And it's his speed. His speed is God-given. It is special, and it creates so many avenues and opportunities for him to have some success. It is all about how can he put the ball in play? Because if he puts the ball in play, there is a very, very good shot that he's going to be able to get on base. And if he gets on base, he's not dangerous on the base paths. He is deadly dangerous on the base paths. Last year, obviously, 100 stolen bases, 4 stolen bases, including the one he's had so far tonight on the season. He's got a couple of hits during the game today. 2 hits. He's 2 for 4 tonight with a walk, being able to get on base 3 different times. One of the players to be able to watch out for with him, and I know that he's getting a little bit of runway. There's a little bit of similarities with some of the game style, is players similar like a Chandler Simpson over in Tampa Bay. But with Kendall George, with what he's able to do, is just his speed is ridiculous. And the Dodgers have somebody very similar-ish profile. I'd actually be curious to be able to dive into some of those numbers to see how similar those two players are. Truthfully, I haven't had the chance to do that. I just know the dynamic ability that Kendall George has is awesome to watch. And if he limits swing and miss, as he did in the second half of last year, cutting it to closer to about 10 to 12% strikeout percentage in the second half. If he does that, there is very limited things that opposing teams can do, because even ground balls are going to turn into a lot of base hits.
Yeah. So we're wanting a watch party here, which would be fun, which means we could call into you at the Loons game live, and you could call in. Yes, Ferris pitched actually. Let's get to Jackson Ferris. You could call in live, and we could check in with Mark at a. By the way, we got confirmed we got our Tower Buzzers media credential for the year. So we are Dodgers Daily is credentialed, and then also we're hoping if we can find a sponsor. Hey, if you guys know any corporate sponsors that would like to sponsor this show, we're at least going to get into talks with maybe bringing in another host that's a big time host that would really help boost Dodgers Daily and give it some recognition, especially on the West Coast. So if you know any corporate business or any business that would want to, I don't personally need to make any money at this, but I'd love to pay my co-host so we could grow the channel and get as much coverage as this as we could. If you know a business or a corporate sponsor that would want to pay, that would want to sponsor this Dodgers Dog Show, please let me know, because to bring in certain people, we would need to start making a little bit more money than we do. And again, not for necessarily me or even necessarily even Austin, or certainly not Coach Holder or any of those people. But if we wanted to bring in West Coast presence, it would be more of a transactional deal. So if you know any sponsors, let us know, and we'll get them signed up, and we'll start seeing if we can get into some of those conversations. But okay, Jackson Ferris made his AAA debut yesterday. Is that correct, or is that today?
That is good. I thought it was yesterday, although I don't necessarily know.
I think it was yesterday. They all run together, but no, because Cole Irvin started today. So yes, it was.
Okay, it was yesterday. Yep.
Jackson Ferris. So there's this, and then I wanted to cover Wyatt Crowell. We'll maybe get into him next time because he was really good with Double-A Tulsa. And I wanted to talk about Brendan Tunick, but we're running out of time. We're already over an hour and a half, so let's talk about Jackson Ferris and get out of here.
Yeah, Jackson Ferris made his start yesterday. You had the opportunity to be able to watch him at least a little bit more in depth with his start, just running through some of the lines that he had. Just 3 in the third inning in his first start at the AAA level, which again, 22 years old at the AAA level. Awesome. 3 in the third, gave up, I believe, 2 runs on the game.
Yeah, but it was one of them was lucky, and then the next one he hung one slide. I mean, literally, He made one bad pitch all day. And in the PCL, sometimes if you hang one pitch, see ya, right?
Yes, which
So it was really good. It was really good.
Yes, quality of contact. To be able to give a little bit of context, I use expected weighted on base average as a measure to be able to evaluate what the quality of contact actually was. For Jackson Ferris yesterday, it was 272. League average is at the major league level like 315, 320-ish, which that is a good mark for Jackson Ferris in his first start making at the AAA level. Patience with Jackson Ferris as he continues his development. Hopefully we see a little bit more swing and miss in his game going forward, but I have a lot of confidence in this very talented, young left-handed pitcher in the Dodgers system.
Okay, Austin, we have rambled on long enough. We always have a good time whenever we get together and talk Dodgers baseball, so I think we've got some things talked about tonight. We might get us a watch show going, see if that's something that might interest people. But final thoughts here.
It's been a fun show, Casey. It's always great to be able to interact with you, to be able to catch up as best as we possibly can, or as often as we can. I'm looking forward to this upcoming week. I'm so excited that baseball is back and that I get to be able to dive in a little bit deeper with some of the connections that I have with Great Lakes. Got 3 games coming up in the next 3 days that I'll be going to. Following week, they'll be at home against Dayton. So they're going up this week against the defending Midwest League champions. Next week, they get their rival, the Dayton Dragons, for a 6-game series. Those are going to be fun series to be able to go to. Overall, the Dodgers are performing really well at the minor league level. Offensively, by WRC Plus, entering the game today, does not include the game today. They are first in minor league baseball in WRC plus. I think it's close to about a 129 WRC plus. Very early in the season, but there's a lot of success offensively at the minor league levels. At the major league side, they're towards the top. I think they're second in Major League Baseball in WRC plus entering the game today. Offensively, they're hitting on really good cylinders. Overall, even though there was a loss today, the Dodgers are in a very good position of where they're at. And we're starting to be able to see opportunities for guys to be able to develop. This is going to be a good opportunity for Alex Freeland to continue his development. Great sign. He needed that game that he had yesterday to boost some of the confidence that he has, because there was some bad luck, but also it was a struggle to start the season. To be able to have that confidence boost for Alex Freeland to continue his development, for Ha-Seong Kim to get an opportunity and shot to try to show the Dodgers organization that it was a mistake to send him down to Oklahoma City to start the season. There's some young competition, even with some of the things that are going on, especially injury-wise for Mookie Betts. Thoughts and prayers to Miguel Rojas, to his family with what is going on. It's going to be a good off day for the Los Angeles Dodgers to have to regroup and then enter the series against the Texas Rangers over the weekend, looking to get right back on track and continue with the momentum that they have built based off of this road trip.
Absolutely awesome job, Austin. Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, Case.
To all you wonderful Dodgers dogs out there, thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, it's a great day to be a Dodger.